Bienvenidos, everyone, to DCTBD, produced by One Love Massive. We are coming to you live from the One Love Massive Creative Factory in the Shaw neighborhood, Washington, D.C., across the street from the historic Howard Theater. I am one of your hosts, Ian Taronji. I'm an immigration lawyer here in the DMV and also a member of One Love Massive collective group, The Lucky So-and-Sos. I'm just going to go out and say the premier jazz hip-hop band in the DMV.
Bam.
So let me introduce my co-host first here tonight, the exquisite Michelle Busch. Michelle, how are you?
I am wonderful this evening.
That is great to hear. Michelle, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I make it really simple and really quick. I am all things District of Columbia. I am the owner and founder of Event Solutions DC. I'm a social media junkie, lover of jazz and social justice, power to the people. And everything that I say, views are mine. I don't like it if you don't like it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And seated next to Michelle is our other co-host, the venerable Marcus K. Dowling.
Venerable, I like it.
Today is a very
capital.
special day for Marcus.
Yes.
It is your 40th birthday.
It is indeed my 40th birthday.
Sold you out as
Look.
I didn't just do the birthday.
I'm
like
40.
The number.
Apparently, this is happening. I am a. Oh, there it is. Thank you. I'm a journalist. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a broadcaster. I've written for Pitchfork, Vice, Complex, Red Bull, all the places where like the cool words go. I like to say.
Yeah.
I've written for all those places. I'm in the top 1% of writers on Medium. I also am the creative director at Decades Nightclub, 1219 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, Washington D.C. 12,000 square foot retro themed nightclub. I also, as well, have a political science degree. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know about me. So when you hear me on DCTBD, I actually get to blow the dust off of this 18-year-old certificate that hangs on my mother's wall. So this will be good. So proud. So proud.
Well, a very, very happy birthday to you, Marcus.
Thank you, sir.
You want me to sing?
Later.
Okay.
We could do a little Stevie Wonder later.
Ow.
Yeah.
We'll get it on later. I just want people to know I got a bottle of champagne for Marcus's 40th birthday, and damn, if we're not popping that bottle,
We gonna pop
on
bottles,
air,
y'all.
on air.
Roll it straight.
So
Mama, I made it.
There it is.
okay, so what the hell is this show? You know, my hope is that we can have interesting, wide-ranging discussion on a number of topics. You know, we'll talk politics for sure.
Right.
This is the center of the political universe, not this table necessarily, but
No, but
like
it is, though.
But this city.
But it really is, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you say.
That's what I said.
So we'll talk everything: national politics, DC, DMV politics. We'll also talk culture, art, music, food. You know, whatever it is we want to talk about. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
This is
gonna
the
pop it and
bottle.
let's
This
keep
is
it.
the bottle that we're popping.
Yeah, let's keep it moving now. Let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving.
Let's
All
keep it
right.
moving.
So, really anything that we find interesting, we're
Yes.
going to discuss. So the format's going to be typically like a first segment of, big news of the week. Second segment, I'm hoping where we can deep dive on a topic, maybe sometimes bring in a guest to discuss and kind of almost in an interview format. We'll do a third segment, which will be the BISH Sesh. And
Bish.
the way that works, we'll explain it when we get there, but we each throw out our BISH that we want to rant about, and then we vote on which one we're going to discuss.
Right.
And our last segment, my favorite thing that I saw this week, we'll each put forth something we saw this week. It can be political, cultural, viral, personal, whatever, but something that just put a smile on your face this week. So, guys, I'm super excited to be doing this. I am thankful to the good people at One Love Massive, but I'm especially.
What's up, Molly?
Hey, Molly.
What's up, Molly?
Hey, lady. It was really good.
And Mike and Nick.
Hey, guys.
I've known Mike for like 6 years. It's beautiful to be back in a studio setting with my man Mike.
It is all beautiful people here at One Love. I'm especially thrilled to be doing this with you guys. I really am. Marcus and I, we don't go way back necessarily, but I consider you a good friend.
Same here.
We've been on several Chunky Glasses podcasts.
Shout out to
Shout
Kevin.
out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin. Those are always a great time. And Michelle, we've only just recently met. I feel like we've known each other for years.
Yes.
Like literally, I'm not even.
Michelle just has that way.
She has that way.
You
and,
know, like I'm a good bowl of potato salad.
A good bowl.
You know.
No raisins.
No raisins.
No raisins.
Karen, let me tell you something. Keep your raisins away from my Good Hope Road potato salad.
Yeah.
Good hope.
So just really quickly, for those people who used to listen to insert name here, and I'm speaking to both of you, which was a politics podcast I co-hosted with my good friend Scott Remley. There's a lot of the same format because I felt like that format worked. You know, Scott is an election professional who runs campaigns, and in case you didn't know, this is actually a campaign year, so he's super busy, and I think that gave us an opportunity to bring in some different voices to talk about politics. But I'm hoping that we'll get Scott on and kind of talk about 2018 and sort of how people can turn energy and enthusiasm into like
December, Scott.
Positive change in November.
It's a must.
That is a must. So let's get it started.
Yes.
The title of our episode tonight is Forecast Stormy.
But what's so funny is, did you see the way that the weather was today?
just so apropos.
There's been a lot of stormy weather in D.C. lately.
There's been a lot of stormy today.
A lot of stormy weather in D.C.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Well, I mean,
Pendulous bosoms.
yeah. What I really want to talk about was the whole issue with Michael Cohen, who is ostensibly President Trump's lawyer / fixer. It's
Consigliere.
That's
the only word.
I know.
Can somebody please spell it?
He fancies
CONSIGLIERE.
I knew it was. I knew you were going to do that.
I was a 6th grade spelling bee champion. If he didn't,
I was a 3-time spelling bee champion in elementary school, sir.
All I know is I remember in Mrs. Huggins' class, for those that went to Washington Mill, nobody could spell business. So, and that was like in the 5th grade. So.
How many Z's are in business?
I don't know, but somebody put in a couple. It wasn't me.
Love it. Love it.
So on April 9th, it's been a little while, but I feel like it's kind of like a slow burn with this story. April 9th, the FBI raided Michael Cohen's home, his office, and his hotel room. I don't know why you keep a hotel room in the same city as your home or your office. Well, actually, I have some ideas, but
the same ideas.
Maybe I've answered my own question.
I think my eyes are giving that one away.
Shout out to Noma. That little strip by Union Station.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking out of turn.
No.
That's what really happens.
Really?
$119 a night.
Yes.
On that very same day, our president, Donald J. Trump, was at a meeting with military brass, the National Security Council. They were there to discuss what were response options to a chemical weapons attack in Syria that, by all accounts, was launched by Bashar al-Assad. And in the middle of this meeting, because press is there, he starts talking about how the feds, quote unquote, broke into his attorney's office. I mean, they didn't break into anything. They had a search warrant that was signed by a federal judge. And we'll talk about, because that's actually fairly extraordinary to have a search warrant for an attorney's office.
As an attorney, I'm sure that you have a certain awareness of how strange this would be.
It would be very strange. I can honestly say I've never been in an office, and certainly never had my office raided by the feds, and knock on wood that
there it is.
That unbroken streak continues.
I've just read reports. That's all I've done.
But I think what the feds were really looking for was some evidence of these payments to Stormy Daniels. For those who have been hiding under a rock and are not aware, Stormy Daniels is the nom de plume, if you will, of Stephanie Clifford. I guess nom de plume would be more like a name you'd use to write, more so than a name you use to make porn. But
that's a style of writing. It's a style of creativity.
Yeah.
It's creative. It is.
Walks into kitchen.
Erotic creativity.
Bends over to open cabinet.
Cable guy comes over to fix cable.
Right. I love it.
So, my mother is so disappointed.
Okay.
I know. You told your mom to tune in, and here we are talking.
Hi, Mom.
Talking porn. So Ms. Daniels apparently had an affair with Donald Trump in 2006. Michael Cohen, because he is a very, very smart man, admitted to paying her $130,000 before the election to stay quiet about said affair. And that's potentially a violation of federal law.
Maybe.
What?
Possibly.
Now, and wasn't it a lien that he?
That notion has been floated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then brings up the possibility of bank fraud or wire fraud.
Well,
all of these federal
Okay.
crimes.
So the thing to me that I find the most intriguing about the whole Stormy Daniels situation is that this is the long tail, I feel, of the federal government building a case against Donald Trump having access to the Russians. Because the only way that you can stop Donald Trump is by attacking his core. And you have to almost confuse them in order to efficiently attack them. And the easiest manner to attack them and confuse them is by saying that the person that they support is directly related to the Russians. And if you can create the long tail tie of $130,000 that comes from, a Russian dignitary through the banks, and that's where the fraud is, into Michael Cohen's bank account, and he's saying he's paying off his home, which there's a lien against. But in all reality, that money is being funneled into the bank account, some kind of Swiss bank account, some kind of like offshore Bahamian bank account to Stormy Daniels.
Who's dancing in Baltimore? Is it this weekend?
No, she'll actually be even better. She'll be at Cloakroom when it opens the first weekend in June 21st.
My Lord.
Cloakroom.com, I might know that. I might know some people, but, these are things. But no, so just fourth and T, I think, Northwest.
Something like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, these are all actually.
I'm not familiar with these places.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
You don't want to be. You're a lawyer. You're a man of the law.
Yeah.
But I mean, the president clearly is familiar with these places and familiar with these people.
Oh, very familiar.
Right. But I think that's the main issue is that they're attempting to create this long tail tie to the Russians with Stormy Daniels or every single one of these stories that will be coming out. Because the easiest way to counteract what Trump is doing with the subterfuge method is by continuously creating this link between every salacious thing that Donald Trump does, because that's the only stuff that moves eyes.
Right.
Are the salacious things.
Mm-hmm.
The non-salacious things like not fixing Puerto Rico, which again is without power, by the way. Those things don't move eyes.
Is it time for the BISH?
Spoiler.
Sesh?
Yeah, spoiler alert.
alert.
Spoiler alert. There it is.
Spoiler.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the long tail issue. Every single issue ties back to Russia in some way. Yeah. So that they could continuously point at it and point at it and point at it until they could move enough of the population. And it's not there's going to be a great debate or there's going to be some kind of great revolutionary action. It's just the fact that you want to get people annoyed. Mm-hmm. Because when people get annoyed, then this leads them in their local elections to possibly not vote Republican. And, you have a midterm election that's coming. And then in 2 more years, you have the next presidential election.
Right.
And by that point, ideally, they'll have the big sledgehammer that they can swing and knock out the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Which I mean, this seems like the most absurd way to go about taking out a standing U.S. president. I mean, the Republican Party has certainly, when there were Democrats in office, done far simpler things. But this is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And so you're creating these long tail ties that every single time, again, go back to the Russians are bad, Donald Trump is bad, there's money that's involved, we have proof.
And Mike Pence is pacing the floor.
Just hanging out.
Chilling. What's up, y'all?
It's y'all don't want me.
So Michelle, what are your thoughts on everything that's going on? What's your read on this?
I've said it and I'll say it again. It's the walls are closing in, but I just don't feel like they're going to crumble. I feel like we're at a maze right now.
Yeah.
We're at the maze and it's November. And we're just going in circles and squares and triangles. And it's connecting.
Right.
Dots are connecting.
Yeah.
Money is connected. Look, this is what happened with the election. Yes, the Russians were involved. Poor Facebook just got all jacked up. But there's nothing key to say, okay, it's time to take this person down. It's time to take that person down. When it flashed across my screen that Comey's office had been raided, it was just like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
What's tomorrow? And I'll say it again, we're looking at the day to day because we're so sucked in to what's happening daily that we're not looking at the midterms are coming up. Mm-hmm. Nobody has spoken about all of the Republicans, the GOP, that are not seeking reelection.
Yep.
Paul Ryan is just like
we need to.
I'm out.
I'm out.
But my problem is that they're saying, "Oh, I'm out. I'm not seeking reelection," but they're not stepping up to the plate to say, "We have a problem. This is the reason why I'm not seeking reelection."
Well, some have, but it's been very
it's been very muted.
So I listen to a couple of politics podcasts, and I try my best not to crib too much material from those guys. But the guys at Crooked Media, they have a whole thing about like Russia and Mueller and all of this tawdry bullshit, which is this. It's important to know, to get to the bottom of whatever happened, whatever criminality has taken place. I think at this point it's hard to imagine a world where no criminality has taken place. But if we can't sit around and say, well, Mueller's going to take care of it, and he's going to bring the sledgehammer down, and he's going to perp walk Trump out of the Oval Office. Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
That's not going to happen. The way to get rid of Trump is to vote his fucking ass out. And before we get a chance to vote his ass out, we need to get a Democratic Congress in there that can check him. I don't think Democrats need to be running around the country saying we're going to impeach Trump. I think what they need to say is we're going to hold him accountable. Mm-hmm. We're going to investigate. We're going to find out what happened. And then if impeachment is appropriate, fucking A, we're going to impeach him.
Well, let me ask this question. Do we really think, and I'm being very serious, do we think that we'll ever get the real story of how all of this happened?
110%.
I think we're going to get pretty close because Robert Mueller is a spectacular attorney. He headed the FBI for many years. Like he is putting together the A team of investigators and prosecutors. And he is, this is one of these things where, and I'll go on record. I'm not. I have never been a prosecutor, federal, state, or otherwise. I've done some criminal defense work, but I've also been involved in some cases that have involved DOJ investigations. And typically, what happens is those investigations mushroom and you have this rabbit hole. You find this email chain or something like that, and that can take you down a whole other rabbit hole of, wait a second, now they're using the wire, now they're using the mail to to further this criminal conspiracy. Well, that's wire fraud, Yeah. So any rabbit hole that they see, they're going to go down. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that they're collecting. So, I'm sure that there's some kind of corkboard with red string.
Of course. I'll connect
in
this.
some war room. There's a lot of issues at play. And you see conservatives, you see Trump kind of wanting to limit the scope of this investigation. Like, I want to blow it up. I want to know everything. I want to know everything this guy did. If he killed a hooker and Cohen had to chop her up and put her in the Hudson, I want to know about
dead hooker removal fee, man. It's a thing.
Okay. And let's be real, that's not.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Not out of the realm of possibility.
But here's something to tie us back to DC for people who are DC fanatics who tuned into live.onelovemassive.com. two people to bring up in this conversation, because the key point I want to bring up is that the easiest way to perpetuate a lie is by telling the truth. So Rachel Edmonds and Marion Barry in the 1980s.
Oh boy.
Did really bad things all the time, but you knew the whole time exactly what was going on.
Right.
Like, exactly to the letter. Like, every night on the evening news, Rachel Edmonds is selling drugs in Southeast Washington, D.C. It is happening every night. There's like video cameras in Berry Farms of like, these are drug deals that are happening. These are Rayful Edmonds drugs. Rayful Edmonds not caught ever. Every now in the evening news, Marion Barry has, like moved federally solicited funds from the education budget to he's going to San Diego for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
At no point was he ever arrested. It was only until they found his jump off and they put her in a hotel room.
The bitch set me
right.
And that never affected his popularity
exactly.
in this city.
And that's the point.
She really did set him up.
Of course, they did.
really did.
But that's the thing. The easiest way to perpetuate a lie is by telling the truth at all times. So we will 110% know every single detail of this entire story.
I think we will.
And it will affect nothing, because at the end of the day, the actual person who is guilty is so surrounded by truth that you can't get him because you already know that he's guilty.
Yep.
Like if there's somebody who shoots someone with a gun, right? And you've seen it, and you walk up to this person and you say, "Are you guilty?" You already know.
It's no need to ask.
Right, so it's like you should just walk up to this person and arrest them. Yeah. Asking the question is only belaboring the point and giving them more space to put more truth between themselves and justice.
And he's just chomping at the bit, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think that the Marion Barry analogy is great. I'm sure that there were a bunch of Reagan Justice Department people. I mean, this was the Reagan years. I'm sure there were a bunch of conservatives
Joseph DeGenevieve
here in D.C. who are like, oh, okay, finally, now these people, those people in D.C. are going to turn on Barry.
Absolutely, absolutely not.
And I got to say, I was at Adrian Fenty's inaugural, and the loudest cheer of the night by far, because they introduced the entire council before they introduced at the time Mayor Fenty. Was Marion Barry.
Shout out to the great Ward 8.
And he will still get the loudest cheer.
Still to this day.
Still to this day.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about Kendrick Lamar.
Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty.
And we're back. Welcome back to DC TBD. This is our inaugural pod show, whatever the hell this is.
Out here.
We are live on the One Love Massive site, which is live.onelovemassive.com. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube.
We just all the way live.
We're all the way live.
All the way live.
All the way live. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So, like I said earlier, we're not just going to talk politics. We will talk other stuff. So I'm going to call this segment "For the Culture."
For the culture.
Because I want to talk about the great Kendrick Lamar. Just this week, he was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for music, and this is a monumental thing. That he's the first hip hop artist. He's really the first non-classical, non-jazz artist to win the Pulitzer for music. And frankly, the jazz, there've only been, I think, 3. I mean, giving out the Pulitzer for music, I think, for like 73 or 75 years.
Yeah.
And we've had 3, if I'm recalling correctly, there were 3 jazz performers who have won Pulitzers. One is Wynton Marsalis, one is Ornette Coleman, and the third is I'm not sure. And so this year in 2018, Kendrick Lamar won it for his work on his most recent album, Damn. And my good friend Marcus Dowling wrote a tremendous piece.
Thank you.
And I'm not just saying that because he made the exact same point that I made on social media like 15 minutes before I read his article. But it actually, I think, was superbly written.
Thank you.
And
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what were your big takeaways from Kendrick winning the Pulitzer?
So here's one of those funny things. Like when you get to a certain level of medium, they're just like, hey, just write. And you're like, okay, great, green light, I'm gonna go. So like anybody can write on Medium, but once you become like a member, and then once you become like a member with like certain access to certain privileges, like you're like, okay, like just put it out there. So I woke up on Tuesday morning, and Monday afternoon, the Pulitzers were announced, and Kendrick Lamar won for Damn. And I'm a fan of Kendrick Lamar's. I'm a huge fan of Kendrick Lamar's. I interviewed Kendrick in November of 2010 at a Gentleman Jack event at the Mellon Auditorium.
So this is pre-Good Kid, Mad City.
This is Section 80 was out, and he was just about to get signed. I met Punch, the whole like TDE team, like very early on. And like one funny aside from that meeting, I realized even then, and I'm like, you're like really like verbose and intelligent, intellectual and aware. And so I'm like, what was your favorite book growing up? Because my favorite book growing up was like Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and it like influences everything that I do. So I was like, yeah, like what's your favorite book? And he's like, well, I don't really read. I just kind of like respond to my environment.
He's so smart.
And I'm like, and it was like okay. And then you start to see his career unfurl.
Yeah.
And this becomes readily apparent that this is what he does. So Damn won, and Damn to me is the most mainstream record that Kendrick has ever released.
Agreed.
Which, given Kendrick's intellectual spin on how he creates music, thus makes it the least good of his releases. They're all great, but this one is less great.
It's the one I listen to the least.
Right. So
Certain songs.
Right. So I feel like there's a thing that happened when he released To Pimp a Butterfly in 2015. The thing that makes To Pimp a Butterfly great is that it's the literal history of black culture in 80 minutes of music.
Yeah, that album, it was a game changer. That is one of my all-time favorite hip-hop records, like ever.
Yes.
But the thing about doing that is that black people and black culture at that point especially were so marginalized. And, like there was, like we had the murder of Trayvon Martin. We had the murder of, Tamir Rice. Mm-hmm. We had Sandra Bland around that time.
So many names.
Right. So, like shout out to Gloss Rags, Randy Gloss, and counting. It's a thing that was happening. So to put out a record that is so based in the pride and decency and kindness and strength of a culture at a point where at the forefront, this culture is maligned. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because people, okay, so the thing about human psychology that plays in this as well, people don't like to be sad.
No.
And one of the realest things about rap music is that the two things that the average person, black, even black people included, enjoy about rap is that rap makes you angry or rap makes you
Super
happy to the point, happy to a whole other level of happiness.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
celebratory.
Right, like Herman's Hermits can make you happy. But
well,
Juicy J's Bands and Make Her Dance,
Ooh-wee, making somebody happy.
right, makes you happy on a whole different other level. So, and this also plays into the
Whole
fact
other
that, like, trap music, people don't understand the thing that makes trap music great. And I want to make sure to, like, pull this out because I want people to
it's
read
the
the article.
hi-hat sound.
Right. But it's number one, that sound. But it's the fact that when you do it with a synthesizer, with a level of mechanical precision that is meant to hit the human ear and hit the human psyche in a certain way repeatedly every single time. It's science at that point. It's not even music.
He just broke down music to the 4-year-old over here in the corner who has an ear for music, and I'm just sitting here like, say what?
Yeah, so it's like that level of mechanical, like, production of music creates a sound that is more so than punk rock, more so than rock and roll, more so than jazz, blues, whatever, is literally the most connective pop music ever made, ever, of all time, all my life, all of our lives, by a large margin. Like, you have to go back to, like, Beethoven,
Yeah.
to find something that, like, connects on that level.
So I'm going to step in real quick. If you want to hear Marcus's take on trap music and the way it came out of the Atlanta strip club scene, you need to go find the episode of Chunky Glasses, the podcast where they talked about
Future.
the future.
Yeah, God, the Future double album. Yeah, that was fun.
The Future double albums. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun to do. So
that was fun.
Yeah.
But like the point that I made on social media and that I think is a point that you echoed it in your piece. Well, I guess not echoed because you probably wrote it before I did my social media thing.
We were writing at the same time.
I said
and
it's
I was
great.
just waiting.
It's great that Kendrick Lamar won the Pulitzer, but he should have won it for "To Pimp a Butterfly" and not "Damn." I mean, I can tell you as someone in a jazz hip hop band, like, he made the album I wish I would have written. I wish I would have written those songs because they're so rich. It's a brilliant album, and I could go on and on about it.
I'll say this about "To Pimp a Butterfly," and I say this all the time, and people look at me like I'm nuts, but it's the absolute truth. It's the best, specifically speaking to the black audience, album released in 45 years since Marvin Gaye did "What's Going On."
I was just about to say what's going on.
Like, 45 years went by, and millions of great black albums came out that spoke specifically to the black condition. Like, and it's intriguing because, like, he's a fan of NWA. He's a fan of, and that's a group that made, again, black music that spoke to the black condition in a way that people, if you were not black, you felt alien listening to "Fuck the Police," because it's not about you. And "To Pimp a Butterfly" is that same kind of record, but there's a thing about culture by 2015, and even now, we've given out black cards to the entire world.
I'm tired of giving them out. I want some of them back.
Right, to the entire world. Like, Ian, you have one, and Diplo has one, and Molly has one, and, you know, like the barista at, you know, Compass Coffee down the street has one, and my 2 roommates have them. Everybody has a black card. You know, it's like Oprah, like, opened up the wallet and gave them all out to everybody. And you have one, and you have one, and you have one. But the problem is that we used to give out black cards, and you had to, like, study the culture and, like, know the culture, like, backwards and forwards, and you got tested on it every single day to the level where, like, if you had a black card, you could literally, like, you're always invited to the family reunion.
Well, Robin Thicke, he has to give his back.
Yeah,
Do you hear that, Robin?
you got to give it back. It's
You gotta
true.
give yours back.
So that's the thing, though, is that Kendrick made an album at a point where everybody has a black card, but no understanding of black culture.
Right.
Like a true, deep, entrenched, ingrained understanding. So when Kendrick Lamar is sampling, when he's sampling James Brown and sampling Miles Davis and the Isley Brothers and going deep into even like 40 years ago, like that black tradition, people don't know. And you can't be mad at like the average white person who votes for the Pulitzer. And I'll specifically point out the white people that vote for the Pulitzer. Like, you can't be mad at these people for not knowing that has whatever Isley, like, it's not Ron, but it's
I'm not sure which Isley.
Yeah, the Isley that is the guitarist.
But they're playing live.
Is playing Who's That Lady? Live. Which is the thing that if you are a black person, you hear this, you're like, yes, that is me coming through the speakers and grabbing me and pulling me in.
My parents always made me listen to 80s R&B in the car.
Yeah.
On the way to church, on the way to school.
So you can't be mad when Kendrick, to his credit, Kendrick Lamar and the entire TDE team, shout out to the whole team, realized, okay, so we made literally the greatest black album of all time.
The greatest.
And 0 white people cared. Everybody listened, and the title of my article relates to this scene in White Men Can't Jump with Jimmy and with Jimmy and Sidney in the car, and it's like, he's playing to Jimi Hendrix. He's like, and Sidney says to Jimmy, "You can listen to Jimmy, but you don't hear Jimmy," meaning that you don't feel the music. You don't have an intrinsic pull to the music. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, so Kendrick's like, okay, cool. So if you guys want to listen to this record, awesome, man. Everybody listened to Pimp a Butterfly, but they didn't hear it. They heard none of it. So he had to go out and make an actual trap album. He had to go to Mike Will Made It and say, "Give me Gucci's beats."
I can't even, there's no rebuttal.
Right. Give me Gucci Mane.
Yeah, no.
Burr. So that I can say the same words that I said on this beautiful jazz funk melange. I'm going to say them over crunk trap beats in the simplest language possible.
Loyalty.
The most accessible.
Loyalty.
Yes, I'm going to grab Rihanna.
Yeah.
You better.
Rihanna, literally the most popular outside of Taylor Swift, who Kendrick did a song with, by the way. Let's never forget that. Let's never forget Bad Blood. It happened. He got his #1 out of it. It happens. That's a check. It's a check, kids. You go to the bank, and you put it into the bank, and it matures and grows, and you could buy like houses and cars, and it's a great thing. Checks cash, and checks are awesome.
All right, Michelle.
Yes.
Your thoughts on Kendrick winning the Pulitzer? What was the first thing that struck you when you heard that?
I had to open up the article and see it because if you follow me on social media, it's rare that I give more than one word. I just say read, love, music, stupid, things of that nature. Yeah. And I wasn't ready to talk about it because just like you and just like Marcus, I thought it was amazing. It was beautiful. Thank you for, nominating him and selecting him as the winner, for the culture is appropriate. But why didn't it happen to the previous album? Yeah. That album makes your soul quiver. That makes you say, "Chad, I'm gonna eat them chitlins."
All of them.
I went through a phase where I was like, literally every time I would walk down the street, I would try to make sure that I walked to the cadence of King Kunta.
Oh. Got to. Shout out to the Payback.
Oh man, do I love? I just I mean
King Kunta just
that
makes
album
me smile.
Yeah. I mean that album was a super game changer for me. I I grew up a musician. I came to hip hop a little bit later, like in my college years. But in like high school, I mean, I grew up in white Midwestern suburbs. I was like into metal and blues and rock. I mean, I'm a guitar player. I mean, you kind of have to start there usually, and kind of came to hip hop when I got to college, and so I was instantly connected with the Roots because they were, a real live band. It wasn't sampling. I kind of went through that.
A real rap band.
I kind of went through that, initial phase that I think a lot of people go through, and maybe it's just a lot of white people go through, where it's like, well, it's just sampling and not singing and this and that. I mean, we're talking like in the 80s, and then I got wise to what was really going on. But I connected with the Roots because there were musicians playing like real jazzy stuff, and that was very much what To Pimp a Butterfly reminded me of. The live musicians, and it was all musicians that I knew, that I recognized, guys like Robert Glasper and Thundercat, and Cameron Graves and
Kamasi Washington,
Terrence Martin,
Miles Mosley.
So
West Coast Get Down. Shout out to the West Coast.
Okay,
Get
so
Down.
is this crazy? Everybody that knows me, it's always something that pops into my brain. So, listening the other day to Pimp a Butterfly, and I went old school on it. I went back to Tupac. Holla if you hear me.
Mm-hmm.
That right there to me was, and he said, who's this album's dedicated to. We've read
The
all
conversation with Tupac at the end.
That was so. When I was listening to Holla If You Hear Me, and I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Tupac fan, but there were certain songs of Tupac's that I loved, and that first album, Strictly for My Niggas, was a great album. And Holla If You Hear Me, that to me was just very much the ode, the songs, the beat, the vocals on it, the words that were being expressed. It just, I don't know. That's just me. I just felt that they go together.
I'm appreciative of the fact that the Pulitzer Committee recognized the art form that is hip hop, and I believe that they selected the correct representative of that art form. But I don't think that they gave the award for his best work, and I don't mean his best work lyrically. Everything that he does is strong lyrically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
everything that he does, and his flow is impeccable. Like, to me, he's my favorite MC. I don't like to say the best. Who knows who's the best? He's my favorite MC in the game right now.
I'll say this about Kendrick.
Although Cardi.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm gonna mention this. If there's any one thing that Kendrick Lamar did across the board in hip hop, was that he brought back the necessity of words.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even Future, the quote unquote mumble rapper, released an entire record. The second part of that double album involves words.
Is that the Hendrix one?
Yeah, Hendrix.
Yeah.
Hendrix has words and complete sentences and full thoughts.
That is not on my playlist.
It should be. If you like Jodeci, it's a Jodeci album deep down inside of it.
Really?
I swear to God.
Does that mean I have to listen
Yes,
to it?
yes, it does.
Does that mean I have to watch Baychella too? Oops.
You don't have to, but that's okay. That's a whole different other conversation.
Spoiler alert.
But
Spoiler alert,
I think
spoiler
that that's the thing. Like, even Cardi B, the genius of Cardi B's album is that, again, there are full sentences and complete thoughts that are expressed by a woman in 2018.
You better listen to all of Cardi B's album.
It's
Every
hot. It's
single
hot.
song.
Like, Bickenhead has actual, like, real, like, feminist theory
It does.
in the song, and you're just like, and I'm like sitting there and I'm like, wait, so whatever writer sat with Cardi and put this together is like aware of like Audre Lorde and is like really aware of like some high level feminist theory and is like, okay, I'm gonna break this down into like Project Pat.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Which is like, how?
It was beautiful.
But that's the thing about, but that, to your point, hip hop is at a point where it's the most, and the Washington Post said it today too. Hip hop is the lingua franca, the most dominant visual, verbal language, creative language, creative idiom, dominant creative idiom of our time.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Agreed.
Project Pat is as important as like Voltaire. Think about that for a second.
The Voltaire of 2018.
Yeah, it's a wild thing to think about, but it's the truth. If this is what we look at.
Some of you all will have to Google that afterwards.
Some will,
Just
some
saying.
will. All right, we're going to take another short break with some royalty-free jazz, I'm sure, in between. When we come back, we're going to do our BISH Sesh.
Ow.
Yeah.
Purchase your tracks today.
And we are back. Welcome back to DC TBD, produced by One Love Massive. Shout out to everybody at One Love Massive who makes this possible, because this is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this.
They're amazing.
So, this segment we like to call the BISH Sesh.
Bish.
The BISH Sesh.
AKA, let me tell you something.
AKA, let me tell you something. The way we run this is we're each going to do like a 30-second elevator pitch of our BISH. And then after that, the three of us are going to vote. Cannot vote for your own BISH about which one we're going to talk about for the duration of the segment. And, I guess if we run out, we can always run out of time, run out of things to say about a particular BISH. We can always move on to the second place winner, I guess, whatever. So, Michelle,
Ladies first.
start us off.
Ooh, ladies first. Ladies first. Hey, I like that. I'm an alto. I have four good
You guys are
notes.
harmonizing there. I can get the basso.
Yeah, do that. Ooh. So I'm gonna make it really simple for mine, and because I know that there's definitely something else that I wanted to talk about, but we'll get to that. So there's a show called Dr. Phil. I do not watch it. And there was a young lady on said show, and I don't know her name,
Danielle Bergoli.
Oh yeah, her. She got bad eyebrows. And something about a cash me outside or whatever. I heard she just acts a fool all over the
that's
place.
what she did.
And so BBC News has stated that the report came out that she is now a award nominated rapper.
Bad Barbie. BHAD Barbie.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. Bish We will not impede on Cardi B and how she rolled up at Coachella in honor of TLC.
Looking amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
While pregnant.
While fully.
Like all the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
Baby is rumbling.
There it is.
Hey, so that's me this week. Cash me outside.
How about that?
There it is. Marcus.
Okay. So Trayon White, the city councilman for Washington, D.C. from the Great Ward 8.
He's had some troubles.
He's in a sunken place.
I have no comment.
Right now. I'm just putting that out there. He's in a sunken place because he went to the Holocaust Museum today after stating that the Rothschilds control the weather. For people who are unaware, the Rothschilds are a legendary Jewish banking dynasty that people, in the black community, in the woken Hotep community, like to claim have some kind of illicit control over the weather conditions.
You said Hotep. Where's Dr. Umar?
I mean, I'm just putting it out there. That's what it is. So there's a Hotep somewhere in the Great Ward 8.
Oh, boy.
That reached out to Brother Trayon and explained to him who the Rothschilds are during a snowstorm.
Oh my.
And he went into the city council chamber and he stated this. And so, the 48% of the nation's capital that is white got really mad about this because, you can't have, random black people saying that the Rothschilds control the weather.
Big mad, little mad.
Exactly. So we went to the Holocaust Museum today to learn more about Jewish culture.
I'm gonna hang my head in shame.
And that's just this is where we are right now. It's a rough time to be black in Washington, D.C. And when there's people like this who say things like that in the middle of the street, you can't do that anymore. That's my bitch about it. Yeah. You can't do this anymore. It used to be cool to do this when Marion Barry was the president. Well, not the president.
The president?
He was
the president of D.C.
Right. Yeah, when he was the mayor of D.C. You could say crazy things about white people because he was Marion Barry. He was a singularly charismatic figure that the likes of which American politics will never see again.
That's Uncle Marion.
But now, Marion's long since deceased and is a statue.
Yeah.
You can't say these things. And so he's going to take a lot of L's. Okay. And these L's are going to directly affect the African-American community of Washington, D.C., of which I am a proud member. And especially as an African-American male, it's just frustrating. So that's mine.
Gotcha. My bish for the week, for those people who don't know, my mother's was born in Havana, Cuba. My father is Bronx, New Yorican. So I got Puerto Rican in my blood, and I feel for the island of Puerto Rico right now. I know it's been a tough time ever since Hurricane Maria. It's been 6 months. Yeah. They were had just gotten to a point where most of the island, 80% of the island, had power again after literally months. Right. And we just had a island-wide power outage, and it's beyond me how one incident can knock out power to an entire island of I think about 3 million people.
Yeah,
but it did, and to me it's emblematic of the fact that there was never any kind of a vigorous response from our government, our federal government.
Big Don shot mad 3-pointers with paper towels, man.
It was piss poor and it was disgusting.
It's disgusting.
It was Steve Kerr out there.
Yeah.
Dan Marley.
For a man his age, I will say he showed good form. He had kind of a quick release on the 3, but
he's done some quick releases before. Disgusting.
And there it is.
There it is. All right.
This is water, people. This is water.
This is
Turn.
No, we haven't hit the champagne just yet.
Ew.
So all right, let's take votes. Which bitch?
Puerto Rico.
Ho. That's what we're doing.
All right. I guess I don't have to vote. We're going to talk Puerto Rico.
I wanted to continue that point and speak about the fragility of the power grid.
Yeah.
In Puerto Rico. It's a thing that people have to think about. It's the most frustrating part of this whole story. So you could tell people that the island has power, But you could also have a really weak electrical grid, which I presume they do, because their electrical grid was largely wiped out by Maria. That's the thing. Yeah. That's the biggest part of the Maria story that doesn't get told.
To be sure, the infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure on the island, a lot of infrastructure on the island, not just electrical, was in a shambles.
Right.
And so when a massive
because Puerto Rico was already broke.
Yeah.
People have to when you talk about Puerto Rico, people have to understand there is a territory of the United States of America that owed the country money.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, had they been a state, they could have, or some kind of municipality, they could have filed for bankruptcy the way Detroit did, the way other municipalities have done.
But that's still
the way the state of Illinois probably will have to at some point.
That's where we're at in America right now. There's a territory that's a significant territory. It's Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It is.
And they're already broke. And so their infrastructure across the board, from like water to electricity to whatever, it's already declining. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then an act of God wipes out the island. So therefore, you know that like the electricity and the water, all these things are going to be completely wiped out to a level where like it's going to take at least 5 years to get it straight again. Mm-hmm. And we're in barely year one of this. And this is going to happen multiple times here. Like, as sad and as frustrating as that is, we could have this conversation like 6 more times.
Yeah.
Because you have to like, to rebuild that grid requires a level of like electrical planning that's like the same as like Benjamin Banneker planning Washington, D.C.
Well, we should have never stopped talking about Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
That
brown people, yo. Ian, you know.
That's real.
I mean, let's go back to when Obama was voted into office. Y'all went to sleep the next day, but that's another podcast for another time. What happened to, we were so contained and so involved with what was going on in Puerto Rico, and Jose Andres just...
God bless him.
God bless that man.
God bless that man.
And his great, amazing food and spirit and just everything.
I will patronize his restaurants till the day I die.
Chilcano is my favorite restaurant in the city.
Absolutely. Hands down. Could somebody put some money on my Cash App so I can go? Michelle Busch. Okay, anyway.
You got to get that grok level and put it on your, like, you know, your social media.
I'm going to do that.
Do that.
Yeah, with a little Bitcoin too.
Yep.
It disturbs me every time we have something like this, and it's a Kanye moment. You don't care about the black people.
Yeah.
You don't care about the people that
aren't like you.
And we can be real clear. We're looking at the man that dropped several of his friends from the administration. Oh, you're not like me. Steve Bannon, you must go. So, but it was, you're the most amazing. You'll be the best for the position. What happened? Why did we stop talking about it? Because of who's in office. Here comes the next story. Here comes the next session. And we're like, Puerto Rico, still power. Why weren't we paying attention to, okay, structure needs to be built. How do we bring this in? Mm-hmm. And I want to know, was the Akon story really true that they diverted him because he was going to come in with power grids and everything?
Akon did it in Africa.
Correct.
He did it. But okay.
Correct.
So I feel like the thing with the Trump administration is that they always need a big ugly. And I mean, the thing is with the Trump administration is that there's
ugly. Have you seen his hair?
He's a big guy too, but he's somehow only 235 pounds.
And so am I.
But you are though.
I'm cute.
And you carry it so well.
Cute and fluffy.
I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
He doesn't carry it well.
But I'm saying, so like in every administration there's a big ugly. That's that's a rule of American politics that we never discussed. Right. I mean, Obama had many of them. Like, as much as we love Obama, he had many big uglies. So you keep a big ugly around in the case that like things go to like complete shit insofar as like the court of public opinion towards you. You could just point at the big ugly and everybody's head will turn. And Puerto Rico, being largely left without power, is the perfect big ugly. So the second that they actually get the actual Stormy Daniels information, and it's like proven true, and like they have like the offshore Bahamian account that they could point to and say it's right here at this bank in wherever, you know.
Well, we know it's not in Puerto Rico.
Right, exactly. So and then at that point they'll turn and Donald Trump will fly to Puerto Rico from Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And throw up more 3-pointers.
Yeah, well, it was a nice form. It was a nice form on his 3-point shot. I thought he set his feet, squared his shoulders.
Exactly.
Quick release, and the paper towels, I think, went generally where he wanted them to go.
I was hoping that somebody was going to throw the paper towels back at them.
Yeah. So here's...
Like a shoe.
We're gonna leave the Bushes alone.
I know, in their time
of grief.
Yeah, their time of grief.
Old Pearly.
Old Pearly. 92.
92. She done gone on to glory.
All right. Puerto Rico. So here's my complaint is, it seems to me like, okay, the infrastructure on the island was bad. It got wiped out by, a really kind of like a once in a generation storm. That seems to me like the perfect opportunity to say, let's make it good. Let's invest. Let's throw everything that we can into this island. Because if it had been Florida, if it had been Texas, we certainly would have done the same. I think since New Orleans, there's kind of a sense that maybe there's not so much, but I'd like to think that there was a sensitivity since New Orleans to doing these things to actually help people. And so, when I put this on social media, I got, and I do have many, many, many beloved friends and family who are conservatives. Mm-hmm. And I don't disown them, and I don't defriend them or anything like that.
Give them the old karate chop.
But I started getting a lot of sort of like the ham-fisted arguments for why it's not really the federal government's fault that Puerto Rico's fucked up. And it's like, well, if it was in Texas and Florida, we could get the trucks there, but you can't really get the trucks to Puerto Rico. And it's just like, didn't we put a fucking man on the moon?
No, we did. I'll tell you what it is.
Didn't we start an entire? Didn't we build a green zone in Iraq, which is functionally like a small city?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. You know what it is?
We do plenty of projects. We do plenty of projects around the globe where we build and rebuild and modernize things. Like, there's no excuse for not, had there been the will, it would have been done, and there simply was not the will.
It's not even a will. You know what it is? Return on investment. ROI. Where is the ROI in Puerto Rico? If you put something there that's a sustainable good, the people can't buy it. That's the problem. And there's not a conservative businessman in America, or even a liberal businessman in America, who's going to go at this point to Puerto Rico and stand to take a loss. Because look at the strength of the American dollar right now. The answer to this whole question, by the way, is this: the first second that Donald Trump decides to pull the warning trigger and talk to Jack Ma, and talk to Alibaba, or talk to the guys at Tencent, or talk to any of those giant Chinese conglomerates that have trillions of dollars, and says, hey, you have a whole island country. If you rebuild the infrastructural grid, you can build widgets there for 100 million years at literally pennies on a dollar. And that's the final thing to me. That's the final thing that you pull. That's the final lever that gets pulled, because you can build in Puerto Rico. You could literally build in the entire middle of America.
So I'll buy
little widget factories.
I'll buy the economic argument only so far, because we're not talking about rebuilding the island's economy. That's a whole separate issue, and one that I agree has to be discussed. But at this point, we're talking about basic human rights.
But where are you going to get the money?
From a Western country. I mean, this is why we have a federal government.
Right, but where are you going to get the money from?
These are not questions that we would be putting if it was Miami. If it
we're
was
$20 trillion in debt. Like, what are we going to do?
That hasn't stopped anybody yet. $20 trillion in debt. If Houston was underwater, does not make
it'll get fixed.
Does not.
I mean, they're selling.
It's not the argument that carries
the day. They're selling $1 million homes at 90% discounts in Houston right now. That's where Houston's at.
What did the resorts and the hotel owners say? Have they come out and said anything besides money, 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 money.
Yes, that's all they can say.
Yeah.
Because it's a cost benefits analysis at this point. It's sad.
It is. It is very sad. It is very sad. It's sad for me to see what's going on because I used to spend summers in Puerto Rico with family, and those are some of my best childhood memories. I learned how to scuba dive at age 10. My godfather taught me how. I mean, I think you couldn't even get licensed to scuba dive until you were 14. So it was like a big deal. Like, oh, he's teaching me how to scuba dive. I'm not even 14 yet. And it was, but in pristine, crystal clear waters on the south side of the island, and my cousins lived directly across the street from the El San Juan Hotel, so we used to just like roll up in there. Mm-hmm. I think we were the only locals, or actually, I think my cousins may have kind of used me a little bit to be like, no, he's a guest here.
I just like the Ponderosa. That's down there. It's good.
It's good.
Yes, yes. So Puerto Rico. Get that shit together. I don't want to bitch about this anymore. Let's get it together. These are basic human rights, and these are American citizens who are suffering as a result. We got anything to tie a bow around it? Around our BISH session?
Yeah.
Not really.
All right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Puerto Rico is heavy.
It's really heavy.
It's like really heavy.
The hardest conversation to have.
But
we haven't.
I will tell you, these council members in the city, y'all better get it together.
Shout out to Trayon. You're in the sunken place, dog. You're in the for real sunken place. And that's the Great Ward 8.
And I think this is where certain people are biting their nails. They're like, Michelle is gonna say something, and you know how I feel about, but we're not gonna get into it. Puerto Rico, you are heavy on my heart.
Yes.
DC council members, y'all need to get that shit together.
La Isla Bonita. All right, that's it. We're gonna take another break, and when we come back, we are gonna pop this bottle of champagne.
Yes, our favorite thing
on air.
Yay!
Pop champagne.
Everybody's coming in. We're all popping champagne here for Marcus's 40th. We're living it up on TBD, DC TBD. Thanks. And we're back. Welcome back to DC TBD. As we've said many times over the show, today is Mr. Marcus K. Dowling's 40th birthday. We've been selling him out by telling everybody it's his 40th.
Yeah, I mean, it is my 40th.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
I agree.
So we got a bottle of champagne. We're going to celebrate on air. We're going to have everybody here in the room is going to have. We're going to do a little champagne toast. We got my man EU sitting here.
Ron Brow's coming hottest in America.
Hey,
killing, just killing the scene, and
what a gangster lean.
Thank you.
No, seriously, this guy, Sir U, is one of my actual favorite MCs in the city right now.
No doubt. No doubt.
I'm proud to have you at the table,
man.
young
I'm proud
man.
to be at the table.
I'm excited to learn about you.
So I used to bartend, so I got this shit.
This guy, I will tell you about EU.
Ow, my
He
eye.
rapped for 25 straight hours at Uptown Art House.
Wow.
That's
This
the
guy.
Shit. That's the shit right there.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Is that on video
How
somewhere?
much of that was like partially written, and how much of that was not partially written?
I would say 70% of the time I freestyled, and 30% of the time I was like, maybe 25% of the time I was doing my songs, and the other 5% some weird mix of improvisation and premeditated songs.
Cool. How has that affected your writing process? I want to make sure that people know about you because what you did is amazing.
Yeah.
How did that affect your creative process after you do that?
One thing that I'm having trouble with, I grew up like really believing. I'm more skeptic of it now, but I grew up really believing that like when somebody posts a freestyle, when Eminem posts, when I would be on LimeWire and other illegal
Rap Olympics, freestyles.
Yeah, I would think these things were really freestyles, were really like at the drop of a dime. They just decided to just create this shit and stuff like that. So growing up, my whole ethic was like just pushing myself to be able to be as good on wax as I am creating it off top. So doing that at the 25-hour performance was like a testament to that. But since then, it's been like I've been retraining myself to be able to write as well as I freestyle, I think, or at least as consistently potent.
Yeah. So what are you reading right now?
I don't know if my attention span is fucked, but I never really. It's real hard for me to read anything other than excerpts. Like there's this book called "Love Is a Dog from Hell." I've been checking that out. It's by Charles Bukowski.
Oh, great.
I'm so amazed by this young man right now.
Great.
Yes.
That and I don't know. There was this introduction to this book called I think Dixie is Burning.
Okay.
Or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it talked about concepts like messianic times in which somebody just has to step up and really go against the grain, and it's not really a part of recorded history, but it sets up. It's just like a moment of rebellion in which somebody's just like,
right. It's the vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what you got coming up.
Yeah.
I'm doing a show tomorrow on the Grindstone back patio. I really like to do like community events where anybody can come.
Excellent.
I don't like to charge, but I also have a performance in Philadelphia on the 21st of April.
Where at? For our viewers in Philadelphia.
Well, I think digitally it's undisclosed. So,
okay.
Whoever's listening and cares, I'll find a way to make the address known to you.
Very good.
Beautiful.
And
Very
in
good.
May, I'm in Songbird. A couple of times. But on May 2nd, I'll be performing with a guy named Coma Cinema. He's from Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Fantastic. Well, we're glad to have you here on DC TBD. Normally, this is the segment of the show where we would talk about my favorite thing that I saw this week. We would each go around the table, talk about my favorite thing we saw this week.
I already talked
I
about
figured
mine.
it was going to be Beyonce for each of us. I assume Beyonce.
Who?
Beyonce.
Wait,
Beyonce.
whoa.
You mean Rihanna?
Whoa. Who?
Rihanna?
The only thing.
Rihanna?
Oh, y'all don't know?
Rihanna?
I
You mean
don't-
Solange?
Shout out to what she did for the HBCUs.
No, that's the one thing I will say.
But-
she did a
She did
beautiful
was brilliant.
thing for the HBCU community.
Yeah, but so this week it's still Cardi B. Thank you, Ian, for not putting the words in my mouth.
All right. All right.
Be careful.
That's what I get. That's
Be
what
careful.
I get. That's
Be
what
careful.
I get.
Be
That's what I get.
careful.
All day.
But when I realized that today, for our inaugural DC TBD was
We did
Marcus's birthday, I thought, we're gonna have to do a little toast here. So we got Mike and Nick and toast. Yeah,
Toast.
do toast. So many more, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Continue being beautiful.
Oh,
Continue
thank you,
being
my dear.
beautiful.
Fellas,
Shine on,
chin
fellas.
chin.
Cheers.
Our folks behind the scenes are killing it tonight. Ah, yes.
Oh, who picked this out? That's
My wife picked it out. She called me and she's
Thank
like,
you.
"Hey, I'm gonna stop off at Total Wine." I was like, "Oh, perfect."
you messing stuff up.
It's
He done
wild
had,
out here.
He done
Oh,
had
yeah.
one sip.
It
Messing up.
is. It is.
There it is. But
So-
yeah, thank you for this.
My pleasure. My
Yeah, I'll
pleasure.
just add this.
Yeah.
I've
speech.
known everybody.
Speech.
I've known everybody in this room for at least 5 years. The past 10 years of my life have changed my entire arc of my existence. When I turned 30, I was at Tattoo Bar, and I drank an entire bottle of Grand Marnier because I had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
You gonna make me cry.
That's
So it seemed
that's
like
not
it seemed like a good time to stop.
gonna make me cry.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that at various points, the things that people in this room support or people in this room as individuals have been incredibly important to sustaining me and getting me to 40. So thank you to everybody, even to the listeners as well.
God bless you.
Appreciate everybody.
'Cause
That's
you gonna-
beautiful.
You gonna
That
make me
is-
cry.
That is beautiful. I can say every time you and I have had a conversation, I've walked away just been like, yeah, man, that's a different take than I expected, and it makes sense. It
Thank
makes
you.
sense. You always blast out a bunch of articles in the morning, like people wake up and they check their phone to see what Trump tweeted overnight.
No, I checked to see what Marcus.
I
has
check
already-
to see what Marcus is hip and everybody.
It's
too.
always lit. The hours between 5 and 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. in my home, in my bed.
That's what I need to do is start waking up at 5 a.m. and
It's-
start being productive.
It's lit.
It's
let me tell
rough
you.
because I'm doing gym sessions at 6 a.m. His articles have gotten me through.
At 5 a.m. when my 10-month-old daughter is waking up, I'm putting the pacifier back in her mouth. I'm like, sleep till 7. Just give me till 7.
I mean, I'm just so appreciative to our good friend Geronimo.
Yo, shout out to G.
Shout out to G, for kind of putting us in the same space.
G made this happen. G
Yes.
made this happen, Ian. So if you don't understand, I don't know if you understand
lay
the
it on me.
backstory of this.
No,
Okay,
hit me
so
up.
Geronimo Collins. Geronimo Collins is a podcaster.
All the fly
Kids, which originated
I know. Yeah.
from the One Love Massive Creative Factory, not the Line Hotel. I've known Geronimo for 10 years. And Geronimo was person number 3 I met when I saved my life by getting invested into local community cultures writ large worldwide.
Once you puked up that bottle of Grand Marnier.
Yo, I really did that.
I know you did.
April 20th, 2008 was one of the hardest days of my life on multiple levels. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Just orange just
Yeah, I know.
pouring out of my pores.
Been
I know,
there,
I know, I know.
done
So in
that.
any event, G had told me about Michelle. And I was like, yo, you got to meet this person. And I'm thinking it was on a social level initially. And I was like, oh, okay. I was dating someone at the time, and I'm like, all right, G, you must know better than me. So, okay, cool.
I knew somebody was gonna like this fluff one day.
And then I was like, oh, okay. And then G's like, no. You two are the most, intelligent political minds I know, and you two should do a podcast together. And for whatever reason, it never happened. Just time, space, place, whatever. And since that point, Michelle, I still love you, by the way.
Thank you.
I do. You're beautiful and all that,
Thank you.
So, in any event, when you said that you wanted to do this political podcast, and then Molly's like, yeah, let's do this, it was like, okay, I have to do it because this thing has been in the works for 18 months.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, You're the recipient of what is 18 months of time, effort, space, and place colliding. And shout out to G for knowing that this would work.
Yeah.
And shout out to you for just doing what you do.
Absolutely.
And being
Well,
able
thank
to,
you.
like,
Thank
you know, pull this all together.
So I'll tell a quick funny story, because I had this politics pod. I had the insert name here podcast going, and that when Scott got busy, that sort of like fell by the wayside, and I've been wanting to get it going, and I was like, I talked to Marcus after one of our Chunky Glasses recording, and I was like, we got to get this going. And he's like, yes. I said, I think we need a female POC host.
No, like real talk. And it was
Real
funny because again, it was like, yes, of course, of course.
So Marcus is like, yes, Michelle Busch. I'm like, okay, good. We've got a name. Let's go with that. And then I'm talking to Molly here one day, and I'm like, yeah, I really want to get this going. She's like, yes, you have to do it. I'm like, Marcus is on board. She's like, oh, that sounds great. I said, I want a female POC host. It's like, Michelle Busch, let's do this. I think actually I was recording the Pasteurized Chefs show upstairs, and I was on like this Facebook thing, and Molly's like, yes, let's get this on, let's get this going, and I said, yeah, we should need female POC host. I post, and then all of a sudden, like, Marcus emails me and Molly emails me something like, Michelle's actually on the chain, the email chain. I'm like, oh my God, what?
Honey, sweetie, dumpling, sugar pie, love of my life. You are beloved.
Oh my God.
And you don't understand this, but you are beloved.
So I feel like this was all fated. This was all fated to happen.
Y'all are really gonna make me cry now.
Just saying, you are beloved.
So
just saying.
I'm beyond honored, grateful, just everything. G and I have had so many conversations since 2000. Well, actually, to 2010.
Yeah.
And we just had a conversation recently, and I'll be very honest that I love my city. I'm native Washingtonian.
Yes.
I have fought. I have done a lot in the background, things that people don't know about. And someone told me a couple months ago that I really needed to be quiet. Mm-hmm. And I needed to be quiet because of... no, definitely not you. I have people in certain places, and that I needed to be quiet. And I was like, you know what? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I had somebody say that, she's not worth any time. Guess what? I'm worth all the time.
Yep.
I'm worth all the time because I put my worth into what I do. I love you guys. We've just met. We connected. I'm going to talk this talk. I'm going to walk this walk. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. This is how the world is going today. And
you can find another podcast.
You can find another podcast, but I want you to come to this podcast because over this time, we're going to talk about everything.
Yep.
And anything. And it has to be talked about because we're looking at our society and it's just drifting away.
I mean, I said Trayon White is in the sunken place. And that was episode 1.
He's in a sunken place.
That's real.
And I'm telling you, it's people right now that are watching.
But you can pull yourself out. He
can pull himself out. Yeah. And shout out to Molly because Molly is watching right now. But I want to interject this prior to because the guys saw me as my eyes lit up. Thank you all for the beautiful words. But 2 minutes ago, Comey memo. Trump said that Putin told him, we have some of the most beautiful hookers in the world.
Literally exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. Like, that's literally, that's exactly what I said.
This is news breaking on the show.
This is what I was talking about all the salacious bits.
Fucking, we need like CNN.
So if I hadn't been running in here late, thanks for whoever opened the door for me.
No, but
I'm gonna have up my Goldie. See, if anybody knows Goldie, the Mac. That's what I call my baby. I'm gonna have her up because it's stuff like this. When I tell you I'm all things District of the Columbia, when I'm the owner and founder of Event Solutions, and that I am all things social media, baby, this stuff comes up on my phone. Let me tell you something.
Oh, wow.
Body rolling on this political game.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Put it on a T-shirt. Winner. That's you, boo.
Boom. Out you.
Boom.
All right, so we're wrapping it up.
Yes.
It up. And I apologize. Did you have anything you wanted to add
Yes.
to? By all means.
Because I know that was a lot for you right there.
No, it wasn't too much. You know, like it's real good. Gives me hope for humanity that I can foster real strong connections.
Love it.
You know,
Good.
but yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought and think that a lot of Beyonce's recent publicity stunts are very ingenuous, and I don't appreciate the sudden
Not what I expected.
prioritization.
Not what I expected, but
Just
that's
from,
what we're
from where
here
I was
for.
sitting, you know.
All right.
And if I see any of y'all out in the streets with them booty shorts on and boots,
No, I want those. I like those sparkly, translucent boots. If anybody's rocking those this weekend at Decades Nightclub,
I'm coming to your
Saturday
party.
night.
I'm coming to that
I want
event
the-
with
I
those
want the
boots
cheetah.
on.
I mean,
I
but
want
you
the
can.
cheetah
You
cape.
you can. I'll lose my shit if you do that. it's all at that point.
We should all just invest in some. Just, I don't know, share our accounts. our various accounts.
pair.
A community pair.
Sisterhood of the Traveling. Well, what is it?
Yes, I-
Fraternal
Fraternal Order of the Traveling Boots.
of the Traveling Translucent Boots.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I like him.
Yeah.
This is good. My church members are watching. Hey, y'all. Shallow
Y'all.
Baptists in the house.
Yo, you go to Shiloh? Of course you go to
Of
Shiloh.
course.
Of course I go to Shiloh.
Damn, girl.
I love my Shiloh.
So-
HBCU council and all that. I know I'm supposed to be working on a flyer right now, but okay, wrap it up.
All right. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm glad we got the great Sir EU on our inaugural podcast. Thank you for being on, Marcus.
for having
Happy
me.
birthday, Michelle, Marcus,
Thanks.
to all of our crew back here. Thank
Thanks,
you guys.
guys.
It's been a lot of
Yay.
fun, and we look forward to it. Check us out next week, and you can watch this on YouTube and other venues.
Y'all be blessed.
Happy
There it
birthday,
is.
Marcus.
Hey.
There it is.